Welcome back, enthusiasts. With Season 10 quickly looming with what looks to be the most exciting and biggest power creep any season has provided us until now, I'm super excited to be able to tell you that the Bloodlance Necromancer is still going to be a strong option for leveling as a league starter. With this build already being a strong leveling build for the Necromancer and Chaos powers added into the mix, it should blast from level 1 to 60 in no time at all. In this video we'll cover an overview of the build, the core mechanics, the equipment and aspects, and further information on the build. Let's get into it. Alright guys, I've got the Bloodlance leveling guide here. This is a full leveling guide designed to take you from level 1 to 60 as a true league starter. So you can start brand new on the season and you'll go from level 1 to 60 no problem. And with the buffs that have come to Bloodlance as at the base level, this will level even better than it did before. It's probably not going to be a top meta build in the endgame, but leveling, this is a surprisingly good build I found in the past. So you'll see here that there's 3 variants, level 1 to 14, level 15 to 29, level 30 to 60. This really is just designed to take you through the build's journey. So before level 15, you won't get your Book of the Dead. At level 15, you get your options, and then level 30, 60, and so on. And they all have their variant summaries for their requirements and how many points they're using as such down here. So you can see this. And as we scroll down, you can see the skills that are taken, the Book of the Dead options and why we've taken them, the items and the aspects, and some information on this that could be useful. The skill tree, as you would expect it to be spec'd out. The Paragon board won't matter here because we don't get that until level 60, so it doesn't matter for leveling builds. Your mercenary options, and you scroll down a bit further, you get your active runes and your chaos perks. These are deliberately put in as blue runes here to make sure that they are easily achievable whilst leveling as a league starter. Your socketables in your gems, and then the strengths and weaknesses, the gameplay loop, and how it works. And then if you're really interested in the build, there is a whole load of in-depth explanations down below, down here as well. So that could be useful to you if you want to understand how the build is functioning at a deeper level. Be sure to favourite the build up above, guys, if you're interested in following the build's journey. I will be updating these after the season goes live, if anything needs to be updated. There are some unknowns still, and to check that, you can see the change log at the bottom here. So by favouriting the guide, you will be updated with any and notified with any changes. And then I normally put in-depth explanations down here to say this is what's changed and why. So you can check this out as well. So if that's out of the way, guys, let's just get on with the build. So we'll start with the skills here. So really, obviously our main damage skill here is Bloodlance, and what we're doing is we're just taking loads of skills around it to make us get more movement speed, get more damage, and just support in general, just to allow us to move around and kill stuff. Like Bloodlance, once you get the right aspects, is pretty much a one-button build. And then when I played it before in the end game, I made it a 2 or 3 button build for extra damage multipliers you could add in. But really, you could use it as a 1 button build. The main thing that Bloodlance really struggles with early on is, honestly, spirit consumption. It's your resource, and the more essence generation. And once you've sort of solved that somewhat, then you can just spam Bloodlance over and over and over, especially where they've buffed the base damage of Bloodlance by about 65% or something this season. It will just nuke stuff. You're only going to need to get 1 damage aspect and you're going to blast. So Bloodlance is here. Soul Rift is our ultimate. This just allows loads of extra synergy to this build. And then we've taken Blight, Iron Maiden, Reap, and Corpse Explosion up here, all because once you get the right aspects and spec in the right way in the skill tree, this is 5 darkness skills you can get on the tree. And aspects will convert Iron Maiden to be a darkness skill. Your Corpse Explode, and having that on there means you can get a cursed aura, and that will allow you to just curse stuff around you. And then Corpse Explosion can be converted to a darkness skill in the skill tree, and there is a passive that allows each of your darkness skills to give you movement speed and damage. So that's just really, really nice for us early on. In terms of the Book of the Dead, we're taking the Skeletal Warriors Defenders. This gives us a load of resistances early on, so it just helps us with our all resistance. You won't even need to worry about all resistance during this leveling process, particularly because you're an intelligence-based character, so you should just only focus on armor elsewhere, and you should just be pretty tanky here. You probably don't need to worry about this too much, as long as you scale your max life a little bit. Skeletal mages, we take the shadow mages because it gives us more essence and essence generation, really strong for us. And then skeletal golems, I take golem's bone to start with because this grants us attack speed. Now it is also worth noting that on blood lance, one of the nodes off of it allows you to guarantee overpower it every 6 attacks. / they changed it this season, so it's every 5 attacks, which is another buff to blood lance. So the more attack speed you've got, the quicker you can cycle through those attacks and get your guaranteed overpower, which does a lot of damage at this stage. Getting access to overpower at this stage is incredibly powerful. So attack speed is the name of the game on this build, a bit like the other builds, some of the other builds I've put together. So the golem's bone here really helps us just cap out our attack speed a bit quicker, and then later on we can shift that in the end game version. And as you can see, there's the information here for this if you're interested in why we've taken those as well. In terms of items and aspects, I generally go defensive here and take the key offensive aspects. There are some pretty key offensive aspects here actually, and most of them are drop only, so you won't need any of them, but if you drop any of these, they will be pretty incredible for your build, and they will just make you blast quicker. So we'll start with the offensive aspects of the Hungry Blood. This one, I believe, is the one that got buffed a little bit. If you're lucky enough to drop this, it will mean every time you cast a Blood Lance, it will also launch an additional Blood Lance at another nearby enemy when it first hits an enemy that's already lanced. So that's a bit of a mouthful, but basically when you hit an enemy that's already lanced, or when you go to hit an enemy that's already lanced, it will throw a second one at an enemy that's not lanced. So it allows you to lance all of your enemies without having to attack them all. I can't state strongly enough how much this basically makes this skill an AoE skill. And the thing to know about Blood Lance is every time you activate and hit an enemy and overpower Blood Lance, it hits all of the enemies that have got Blood Lance on them. So once they're all lanced and you overpower, they'll all just get nuked. So that's why attack speed plus getting this aspect will just allow you to just nuke groups of enemies super easy, and it's like automated, so it's really, really nice. If you're lucky enough to drop Bloodseeker's aspect as well, they did nerf the damage on this, but the funny thing about this is I think they nerfed the damage on this because the base damage of Blood Lance was buffed so much. What they've done is seemingly taken the damage out of this aspect and put it into the base of the skill instead. So you've got a bit more variety on what you can do with Blood Lance. So although this looks like a nerf on the base of it, the buff on the skill will still make this very strong. And this just means the more enemies that are lanced, the more damage you're going to do. It's going to be crazy. Increased damage to your primary target per lanced enemy. So if you've got a really big boss in the middle and you've lanced and you've got the Hungry Blood on, you keep hitting your main boss, it starts auto-lancing every other enemy, and you're just going to do more and more damage to the boss. And then where you overpower and later on you can get it to crit, you're going to deal loads of extra crit damage as well. So all in all, this is a very strong aspect if you can get it. Blood boiling, as I've specified before in overpower builds, this is absolutely insane for leveling up until about level 40 or 45 because we're on an overpower build and we will be overpowering often. This gives us another source of overpower, and every time we overpower there'll be blood droplets everywhere. You pick that up, it just basically one-shots everything at this stage. So yeah, if you get that, that's very, very strong. The accelerating aspects, an obvious choice here. The crit chance can be built enough on this skill so you'll crit often enough so that you'll activate the extra attack speed this gives us. So for your core skill, a Blood Lance is a core skill, so this is going to allow you to attack quicker, and as we said, attack speed is the name of the game here. Sacrificial aspect scales all of your Book of the Dead very, very, very hard. So this is very useful for scaling our attack speed, our resistances, and our essence generation and such. So this is very strong early on. And the two utility aspects we got is the aspect of Cursed Aura. This converts, gives you a dark aura around you, making Decrepify and Iron Maiden an aura, so you don't have to worry about casting them anymore. You just run around and you also curse things. This means in your skill tree you can get your cursed enemies damage really easily, and you can apply your curses without having to worry about rotating skills. Really useful, not mandatory but really useful. The aspects of creeping cadaver gives you a really nice amount of movement speed if you consume a corpse. We're only really consuming corpses using corpse explosion, so you can, if you're feeling slow, you can just use corpse explosion on the corpse and you'll get, for 8 seconds you'll get a bunch of more movement speed. The torturous aspect is the one that converts your Iron Maiden into a darkness skill, and as I said before, there's a skill in the skill tree which this synergizes with really nicely. And for a little bit of extra defense, we've taken the hardened bones. You and your minions gain just flat damage reduction, so if you get this will be really nice for staying alive. And just as a cherry on the top of the cake, the aspects of the Umbral, as you can get it really easily from the Champion's Demise in Dry Steppes. Although it's very weak at base, it will give you some primary resource generation when you crowd control an enemy, and you can do that very easily on these builds with these skills. So with that out of the way, let's have a quick look at the skill tree. So obviously it's focused around maxing out Blood Lance, and we choose to come in. You have to go through Enhanced Blood Lance every 5 times, not 6. You are going to be guaranteed an overpower, and it spawns a blood orb underneath you, so you're going to get that sustain there as well. And then we come through to Paranormal Blood Lance, because it means while at least 2 enemies or a boss are affected by Blood Lance, you will get 15% attack speed, and your Blood Lance's essence cost is reduced. So this just gives you more attack speed, gives you more, and it makes it easier to cast it over and over. So this is very, very good for leveling. Later on in the end game, you do try to swap over to Supernatural Blood Lance, but early on, Paranormal is the play. We've taken these darkness skills here purely just so we can have more darkness skills on our bar. They changed Blight this season so that it now multiplies your increased shadow damage, not generic damage. We used this before so that we could get generic damage multipliers on enemies that are blighted. It will make the rotation of the build easier, but it is a little nerf. But it's been countered by the buffs to Blood Lance, so I think we just take this now for the skill synergy. We come through on Corpse Explosion into Blighted Corpse Explosion, because this converts it to Darkness skill. Again, synergizes with the skill node we'll come on to shortly, and we can use this to consume a corpse every now and then just to get any corpse consuming bonuses at this stage of the game. We come through Bone Prison at this stage. If you choose to use this is used in the early variants actually, so that you can get access to the spirit generation, essence generation. Later on, you won't use Bone Prison very much because you won't need to, but early on, this is very useful to us. And then we come through to our auras, and we've got Iron Maiden and Decrepify. So if you get that cursed aura aspects, you will have these auras up all the time, so you won't even need to cast them anymore. We take the enhanced Iron Maiden because this gets us, every time we hit them with Iron Maiden, it grants us essence instead of costing us essence. And we come through Decrepify into Apparent Decrepify because it gives us a chance on lucky hit to reduce our cooldowns. And it's worth noting, Blood Lance has a very, very high base lucky hit. It's 50% by base, so you only need 100% or it's like 40 to 50%. So even without any lucky hit chance on your build, you will be able to activate Apparent Decrepify pretty often, and you can get extra lucky hit pretty easily here with Precision Decay as well. So that pretty much brings you up to 50 to 60% range. And we take Death's Approach for movement speed here, which in conjunction with Reaper's Pursuit is the skill which makes it so darkness skills on your skill bar grants you 6% movement speed and 6% more damage per skill. So having 5 of those on there will give you 30% of each respectively. If you need Bone Prison on your bar, you'll have 4, but that's still a nice bump to movement speed and a nice bump to damage just for free. The rest of the passive nodes here, Necrotic Fortitude on lucky hit, you grants you a barrier, more defense, and as we specified, Blood Lance is very high lucky hit base, so you will be able to activate this pretty easily with 3 points, so that'll give you a bit of extra defense there. Titan's Fall for more damage against elites, very nice. Spiked Armor grants you additional armor as well, which will help you cap your armor early on. And coming down, we've got Death's Embrace. Close enemies, you will do more damage to them, but more importantly, close enemies will deal less to you, making you more tanky against physical attacks. Amplify damage with the Cursed Aura just gives you more multiplicative damage when you curse an enemy, and they stack. So with the Cursed Aura, you'll stack Iron Maiden and Decrepify, doubling up amplified damage here. Very strong. And then we take all the blood nodes. So we've got Coalesce Blood and we've got Tides of Blood. They're just really big for your blood skill damage, particularly for overpowers. And we take 1 point in Transfusion just on the off chance we might generate a Blood Orb on lucky hit. And we take a couple of points in Drain Vitality to grant us a pretty decent amount of Fortify generation when we lucky hit with blood skills. And as we've got such a high lucky hit base chance on this Blood Lance skill, we should be able to just cap our Fortify all the time. Being capped on Fortify grants us 15% damage reduction amongst other bonuses, so that's all really nice. We take Soul Rift as we specify for our ultimate. We max that out to reduce its cooldown. Prime Soul Rift so that we can apply Vulnerable to enemies while it's active. And we take Supreme Soul Rift for the extra damage. This was nerfed before, but it's still very, very strong for this build, and it just gives you that vulnerable application, more damage, more spirit. It also gives you essence, it gives you essence generation as well. So that's really good too. In terms of the rest of the passives here, we take max out standalone because we're sacrificing all our minions, so it's going to give us another 18% damage reduction. This plus Hardened Bones is going to make you pretty much invincible here. And then Memento Mori, because it makes our sacrifice bonuses even stronger. Very good. And Inspiring Leader grants us a base amount of crit chance while we're healthy too, so that's going to play very nicely into capping our crit chance. For our key passive, we take Rathman's Figure. Means after 15 seconds while you're healthy, of which you should be most of the time on this build, you will overpower. Another source of overpower. It makes us generate blood orbs, overheals us and such, and then it grants us a crazy amount of overpower damage as well. So this is just very, very, very strong. And yeah, we can reduce the timer by consuming blood orbs, which is something we get on this build. So it just allows you to overpower more often. In terms of Mercenary, we come over here. Variana is my go-to. Massacre, the Massacre movement speed bonus is always very good here. It allows us to move around the battlefield a bit quicker. Attack speed here is also the name of the game. So Variana just gives us everything we need that we suffer from in the early leveling part. Rahir is my usual go-to reinforcement with Bastion, and then if you become injured, there are certain situations where if you do take enough damage, he might just save you. You could take Subo in your hired mercenary if you prefer the map hack, but honestly, I think Variana is a stronger option here. Moving down to runes and powers, these are all blue by deliberate intention. If by any chance the rare powers are easily available before level 60, I will reflect this in the planner, and that will be in the changelog. But I deliberately put these as blue because they will definitely be achievable during that league starter leveling process. So we take Seer and Lum here because this is an essence refill button. Basically, every 3 to 4 seconds, you will just refill your essence, allowing you to spam Blood Lance just that bit more. That's really good for us. Yax and Qua, it's not my preferred option, but there's not really a lot else to put in here that makes sense. So you can drink a potion and grant yourself a little bit of extra movement speed if you feel. Obviously, runes are, as a league starter, are down to drops, so you'll have to get lucky enough to drop them. And if you find anything else useful, then by all means put that in. In terms of chaos perks, there aren't actually many for this build until you get to the legendary state and the rare state. So that's why I have only put 2 in here. If the rares are achievable before level 60 easily, they are focused more on core skills, and the legendaries will be available in Torment. The blue skills play mainly into basic skills, which really doesn't benefit us much on this build. But we take invigorating attacks here because we do have Reap on our hotbar. If you do run out of essence for some reason, you can cast Reap and just refill your essence once every 5 seconds. Could be really useful, might not need it. Accelerating Chaos is just another source of cooldown reduction, and since we've got such a high base lucky hit, this will actually probably be quite strong for making our Soul Rift, make it so that we can keep our Soul Rift up more often earlier. So this will be quite strong early on, I think. And yeah, if we get access to the rare ones before level 60 easily, there are some very strong core skills in there, which I'll reflect here, as I say, if it turns out we can do this. In terms of Soxables, we take rubies for the weapon for overpower damage. We take intelligence in the armors because our core stat scales our damage in its own damage multiplicative bucket. So this is very powerful here, and it gives us all resistances from the intelligence. And then we just stack skulls because we want to cap out armor. We should be fine on resistances here, no problem. So we just go all armor here just to make us tanky. You should be really tanky while leveling this, no problem. It does specify in the weaknesses that the movement is slow until about level 15, and resource management can be tricky. But once you get past those bits, this build really does slap. And that's pretty much it for the build, guys. So, as I say, the gameplay loop, how it works, and all the extra info is down here, down below. I'll be updating the changelog with any changes as we go forwards. Thanks for checking out the build, guys. I hope you have a great season. I look forward to seeing you out there. Keep safe, much love, and I'll see you in the next video.